It's heavy.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction Beanie Yo 274. Day in the neighborhood. My brothers and sisters. I know I've been missing for the last 2 days, y'all. I've been missing for the last 2 days, man. But boy, let me tell y'all. I've been getting out work late as fuck this week, man. Like Monday and Tuesday, I'm getting out 3 to 4 hours later than I usually do. And it's a great thing because I'm making more money, right? You know, I'm staying late, I'm making more money. But at the same time, it's making me so tired when I get home I can't do my videos with my brothers and sisters. Now, my mind want me to do the videos. I wanted to do the videos, but my body was just like, no, bro. Go lay down, bro. And that's what I did the last 2 days. But I'm back today, and we finna get into another one of these true crime, horror, dark, deep, and mysterious what the is going on type of stories. Hope y'all doing excellent out there today. And I'm glad y'all came on back to the channel once again to fuck with the thing. Now, we're gonna go to the channel that we supposed to went to yesterday because y'all know every Tuesday we check his video out because he put one out every Tuesday. And y'all know who that channel is. Y'all know who he be. Mike from that chapter. Yes sir, yes ma'am, we going back to Mike. In the title of the video, This Disturbing Monsters Victims Shocked Everyone. David Fuller. So he a disturbing monster and his victims shocked everyone. So from this title, it sounded like whoever he killed or whatever he did to him, I don't know what to make out of this title. I don't know what to make, y'all. I'm trying to make this shit make sense, man. Because I feel like this is gonna be some crazy, crazy, crazy shit. Disturbing monsters victims shocked everyone. I got it. So, however the police or the investigator, whoever found these victims of the disturbing monster, they had to be found in a fucked up ass situation. Like they had to be fucked up, not just shot in the head, but like they had to be mutilated, like their arms and legs cut off, or they had to be, I hate to say this, but they had to be sexually assaulted after they was deceased. I don't know, man. I'm trying to just think of some shit, bro, because shocked everyone. This is gonna be crazy, y'all. We finna see though. We finna just see how crazy this is. But before we see how crazy it is, my brothers and sisters, y'all know what y'all got to do. Get whatever you might need. Get what you need. We back to Mike from that chapter, my brothers and sisters. Y'all got what y'all need. Y'all ready to go? Then let's fucking go.
Hey you, and welcome. My name's Mike, and this old video will make you squirm. In 2020, the police knocked on a man's door in connection with 2 terrifying events that dated back to the late 1980s. Justice, it was a long time coming, but it eventually landed right on his doorstep. He was a man with a scary history, but just how scary will shock you just as it shocked over 100 families.
There's some stuff stuck on the back of that one as well. Martin, do you want to come out and look some photos for me?
Before we get into it, please subscribe to see new stories for the dark every single week. Now, let's give it a go.
Let's give it a go. And get whatever you may need.
Royal Tunbridge Wells. Look at you with the Royal. Is a medium-sized town in the southeast of England. Roughly 60,000 folk call it home. It's got the royal in its name because I understand a lot of the royal family has visited the place over the years. Must be pretty good. Though this story won't be great for tourism. In 1987, something very bad happened in the town. That year, 25-year-old Wendy Nell was coming home from her job. She worked as a shopkeeper in town. Wendy had been married previously, but unfortunately, as it so often does, that went kaput. Now she lived by herself in a bedsit in town. Tunbridge Wells, older town, lots of big houses, lots of townhouses that were now being converted into apartments and bedsits. Bedsits, for those who might not be familiar, are like small studio apartments, and you share a bathroom with other people. Now, at the time though, that meant that the density of people in the town was increasing dramatically, and with that grew reports of weirdos around the place, you know, prowlers, peeping toms, lads looking in your window at night, get out of here! People began reporting, you know, shadows in their windows, hearing noises outside, but with so many people kind of coming and going nowadays, it was hard to tell who was who and what was what. So on Tuesday, June 23rd, 1987, a hot summer's night, a 999 call was made. A woman's body had been found in her bedsit by her boyfriend. The bedsit was on Guildford Road, a fairly central part of town, but an area where prowlers and up-to-no-gooders had been reported. And that woman's body, of course, was Wendy Nell. Wendy was lying on the bed, a bed covered in blood. A blanket lay across her body, and under was a blood-stained bag and a towel. Wendy had signs of severe head trauma. She'd been beaten across the head to incapacitate, then she'd been strangled, then she'd been sexually assaulted. Her clothes were left in a neat and tidy little pile beside. The door was locked, but a partially opened window seemed to have been the entry method into the bedsit. Likely it had been forced open. A prowler, you know, snooping around, had stumbled across it and had gone in. This, you know, took the town by storm. I mean, as it would anywhere, you know, a young woman attacked in her own home, violently, brutally. Like, immediately, best start cracking skulls, you know, hit the bricks. But, unfortunately, it was more like, ugh, you know, gee shucks, anybody see anything? Because we're kind of like fresh out of ideas. They had nothing. Uh-oh to that. Nothing other than a partial shoe print. And one of those prowlers, you know, that had been reported, women reported seeing somebody outside a window. Now one of those prowlers was a terrifying and brutal killer. The fear in town was what was the only thing people talked about. And it only became bigger as time went on because the sumbitch was still on the loose. This is not the type of town where this happens. And so then, you know, who is it? That was the only gossip. And guess what? It happened again. November 1987, 5 months later. Caroline Pierce was a manager at a restaurant in Tunbridge Wells. The restaurant was, yeehaw, Buster Brown's, an American-themed restaurant. So the menu was hot dogs and handguns. Caroline was only 20, and that late autumn, she was moving out of a place she shared with her fella and into a bedsit by herself in Tunbridge Wells. Things like weren't going kind of too well with the fella. Now, the woman who lived in that exact bedsit before Caroline, she would say she thought she had seen somebody outside the window many, many times. That was one of the reasons why she was leaving, and now Caroline was moving in there. Caroline was warned about this, but she didn't seem to give a shit. Not long after Caroline moved in, she called her fella, saying she thought someone was creeping outside. Then, in November, one day, she just failed to show up for her shift at the restaurant. Hot dogs and handguns. She was last seen by a taxi driver who dropped her home just a couple of minutes before midnight. And then she vanished. Caroline only lived about a 15-minute walk away from where Wendy did, but she wasn't found. She was not home at all. When the investigation into what was, at the time, a missing persons report began, well, immediately the comparisons with Wendy began. Single woman, alone, young, bedsit. They even worked on the same street. But what had happened to Caroline, you know?
Yeah, I wonder what happened to Caroline, but I gotta address some shit real quick, yeah, my brothers and sisters. Number one, why did Caroline even move in this? Let me ask y'all a question. Would you move into an apartment or whatever house, whatever? Somebody trying to move out and they trying to get you to move in. You know what I'm saying? They trying to sell it to you or have you to come stay there because they leaving. And they tell you the reason that they leaving because they've been seeing somebody outside their house stalking them. Would you still move in there? Especially my ladies out there, my sisters. Would you still move up in there? Your homegirl telling you she's finna move up out this place, but you can, take over the rent or whatever and come move in if you want to. But I have been seeing some dude outside prowling. I feel like somebody's stalking me. I feel like people watching me around here. Somebody watching me. And you still be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna move in. That right there just kind of fucked me up, man. I'm not trying to speak bad on Carolyn. God bless the dead, rest in peace, no doubt. But it's just a little. It's just, that part there just a little weird for me, man. I don't know. And the second thing is these folks in Rich, whatever this place name, they most definitely got a stalk on their hand, because the second incident got all the clues of the first one. It's like a repeat offender. You know what I'm saying? But let's keep going.
Well, going door to door, the police and the investigators, they found 9 sets of neighbors who reported hearing a scream that night. 9 of them. None of them did anything, but... Now, she was dropped off at 4 minutes to midnight. Her place was at the end of a cul-de-sac. So it was real dark. It was dark as shit. Possibly someone had been waiting there for her. But there were no signs as to what happened. She just dropped off, screamed, she was gone. Then, a couple of days later, another young woman who lived by herself in a bedsit was sexually assaulted. Somebody broke in and sexually assaulted. Now, she survived, but this is, 3 goddamn murder, missing, assault. Now, 24 hours after that last attack, a man was arrested. Phew, get this piece of shit off the streets. This piece of shit's name was Stuart Durkin. As I said, he was arrested 24 hours after he broke into a woman's house and assaulted her, and he admitted it. He admitted to that, and he also admitted to a number of burglaries in the area, like maybe, a prowler might be doing. But that was it. He didn't say anything about no murder, no missing woman. Now, the thing about this Stewart guy is that a couple of years before, he was convicted in Sweden of manslaughter. His wife had been killed, I guess you would say, after an argument. Now, the weird thing is he'd been convicted of manslaughter a couple of years before, but now he was back in England, so... Conviction... Like, what happened there? Did he not, Conviction, but, they convicted him but didn't actually do anything about it, apparently. So was he the guy, or was there multiple prowlers around? Well, though there wasn't enough to keep Stewart, other than, on the assault charge, nothing to link him or charge him with Wendy's murder, or whatever happened to missing Caroline Pierce.
Hey, that's another thing too, real quick, y'all. You don't know, like, I can't be mad at the cops for real, because they really ain't got no evidence, man. They don't got nothing to go off of. Like, you don't know who did what for real. You know what I'm saying? Because whoever doing this shit, they coming in there and doing they evil shit, and they dipping and they ain't leaving no evidence, no nothing. Only thing that we can tie into it is that all 3 of these cases are very similar. That's the only thing we can tie into it.
3 weeks after Caroline went missing, her body was found 40 miles from town. She was lying in a ditch beside a field, naked except for her tights. The attack seemed the same as what happened to Wendy. Same pattern. Head trauma, strangulation, sexual assault. Nothing else was found there, so likely she'd been abducted and killed elsewhere before being brought and dumped here. And again, there was nothing to go on. Nothing at all. They knew what happened, but they didn't know. But they knew he'd struck again, and it was the same guy. That's twice. 2 times. Will there be a 3rd time? Every lead followed. Every area searched. But the searches became fewer and fewer as the years. They became more and more. The killer escaped. He hadn't struck again, so maybe he moved on. He moved on elsewhere to a new hunting ground.
Crazy, man.
Back in 1987, the body of a young woman was found. She'd been murdered. Crime Watch did a reconstruction. 5 months later, another girl's body was discovered. Both lived in the same town, in Tunbridge Wells, both killed in the same way. Police thought a serial killer was on the loose, and they launched a massive manhunt. But 20 years on, no one has ever been caught. Detectives have never given up, nor have the victims' families. So watch this fresh appeal and see if it triggers any memories, because they might just be what the police need.
Following the discovery of Caroline's body, a massive Police Investigation 5, one of the biggest that Kent has ever known, and it went on for many, many months. We were left with the situation where we'd done as much as we could forensically using the science of the time, so we scaled down the inquiry. But one thing that we've never done is close the inquiry.
Even after all this time, 20 years, it's still really, really painful. Under different circumstances, we would have been celebrating and getting ready for her 40th birthday. Now we've got nothing to look forward to.
I'd love to ask him why. Why he had to rape her, why he had to kill her. Why? Why her? What has she done that deserved that?
Morning. David's place. Hello. I need to come and speak to you. Oh, yes. You here alone? No.
David, you're under arrest on suspicion of the murders of Wendy Nell and Caroline Pierce in 1987. Do you understand? Yes. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention, when questioned, something which you later on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. You are being arrested to secure and preserve evidence by means of questioning, so we can conduct searches.
There's some stuff stuck on the back of that one as well. Hard drives in there, I would say. But they're stuck to the back.
He's identified the victims.
Sorry?
Those are the
Yeah,
victims.
well, yeah, the ones who...
No, they are. They're the ones in there.
And folks, before we continue, let me just say that this old video is sponsored and brought to you.
This shit got me looking crazy as hell right now, y'all. Did I look at that right? Do we got evidence on his hard drive, them hard drives or whatever that was? He was hiding behind a damn dresser. Is that evidence of him confessing to these murders or some shit? Or I'm tripping? I might be tripping. I might be a little high right now. I don't know, man. But y'all fuck with Esther too, man. Y'all fuck with my promo and his commercials and shit. And we're gonna pick it back up right here.
33 years, a lifetime, would pass before they would get an answer. An answer that would bring them right back to where it all started. It would be determined that the killer hadn't left town at all. He'd been hiding in the middle of Royal Tunbridge Wells this entire friggin' time. He was an electrician in the Tunbridge Wells Hospital, Pembury Hospital. But even though there were no more murders, he had still been hunting. He had simply changed his victims from the living to the dead.
What?
David Fuller worked across the entire hospital, all access, and he used it for probably the most... Yeah, this is going to be one of them, folks. David Fuller was born in 1954, 34 years of age at the time of the murders of both Wendy and Caroline. He was a well-liked guy, trusted, respected, boring, unremarkable in almost every way possible. I mean, just look at him. I'm looking at him right now and I've already forgotten how he looks. Nothing monstrous about him, but then again, isn't that the monster's most monstrous ability? It's like something, what's that whole thing? You know, devil, something... doesn't exist. I don't know. You know the quote. He'd been married 3 times. First in 1972 to a woman named Gillian or Gillian. He'd been married there. He had kids with her. That was in Portsmouth. Then he moved to a town called Tonbridge. It's like the next town over from Tunbridge Wells. This isn't confusing at all. There he married again. This time to Sally. Year was 1982. Though by some accounts, that old marriage, yikes, a bit rough. Sally, on more than one occasion, was seen with a black eye. Sally ended up leaving him, and in 1999, he married his 3rd wife, a woman named Mala, in Barbados, and he had a kid with her. You know, and all the while, regular, everyday, normal guy, electrician. He worked in hospitals. He's pretty good at it. He would climb the ranks, supervisor, all that kind of shit. Yeah, nothing remarkable about him. He's so unremarkable, I literally have nothing to fucking say about him. He was big into cycling, he loved him some pedaling, he had been a photographer, unofficial, for Cutting Crew, an 80s rock band. You'll know their most famous song. They sang, I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight. I mean, I'd play it for you, but who can afford the rights? You know it, everybody knows it. It goes like this. I just died in your arms tonight, must have been something you said. And then the rest of the song. And it was DNA which led the police to his door in 2020.
Hello. Morning. David's place. Hello. I need to come and speak to you. Oh, yes. You here alone?
David, You're under arrest on suspicion of the
A
murder.
sample had been taken from Wendy's body, but it wasn't usable. And another sample was taken from Caroline's tights, and that led them to David Fuller. So first to a list of suspects, and then they narrowed it down. Alright, who was in the age range? Who was living in the Tunbridge Wells area at the time? Then, to David Fuller's family, then...
Hey, real quick, y'all. Shout out to technology and the evidence and just the way shit has advanced, y'all. That's why I just say, man, whatever time you living in is the greatest time. Because you living in the moment of the greatest technology that you are gonna ever see in your life. And that's what we seeing right now in 2023 or whenever this took place. It's close. It's close. What was 2020? It was 2020 when all this shit went down. But shout out to technology, bro. And I just hope that shit continue to grow. Because technology, it took, 30 more years or somewhere, almost 30 years for technology to get advanced enough to be able to get the DNA of this motherfucker. But we finally fucking got it. And they ain't really have the exact DNA, but you can base it off records. Who still been staying here all these years? Who was here back then? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of different shit you can work with the shit, man. I just love how we are getting smarter as a society as far as the evidence and technology of these true crimes, man. It's gonna come a time where I don't give a fuck who you is. You ain't gonna be able to get away with no goddamn murders. Because technology gonna be so strong, so it's gonna be able to identify any murder who ain't no more murderers gonna be getting being able to escape and getting off scot-free. Long story short, short story long. Let's get back into it, man.
Thank you.
Suspicion of murder. In 1987 there was 2 murders, one of Wendy Nell and one of Caroline Pierce. There's been an investigation and they've now been able to forensically link David Fuller to them offences.
They were able to match that with DNA found on a towel in Wendy's. And long story short, it was like 1 billion times more likely that it was David Fuller's DNA than anyone else. So the police nabbed him on December 3rd, 2020. When he was arrested for the 2 murders, he was calm about it, didn't protest, didn't ask questions, seemed like he was expecting this. A little later than what the old age pensioner had expected, but had expected. When initially questioned about the 2 murders, don't know what you're on about, lads, never heard of them, even though I've lived in Tunbridge Wells the entire time and definitely would have heard about them.
No comment.
No idea why my DNA is there, I did jack shit. David Fuller shite. Weirdly, they found written on a piece of paper was his bank pin, like for his credit card or whatever. 4 digits. You can guess what those 4 digits were. 1987. You don't need to guess. But
wow.
Goddamn it, when the police were searching his home, this happened.
Martin, do you want to come out and look some photos for me? Are they ones he's taken? Well, why does that person look? Yeah, dude.
That first one, was that real or made up?
I don't know. Actually, Martin, there's some stuff stuck on the back of that one as well. I've got the body worn on it, literally as it's happened. Well, on the back of his chest of drawers, it looks like he's got some hard drives in there, I would say. Oh. But they're stuck to the back of the chest of drawers.
On hard drives, in his home, in his study, hidden behind a cupboard, because remember, he's a married man with kids. Well, on those hard drives, they found thousands of images and videos of David abusing dead bodies.
Oh my
God. When the CSIs found them, they thought they were fake. They thought they were fake when they found them, because nobody could be this evil and sick and twisted. These were taken in the morgue of the Tunbridge Wells Hospital, and the hospital he worked in before that. David, he worked in a hospital, he's an electrician, he had all access. He knew exactly where the CCTV cameras were and how to avoid them. So in the morgue, what he did to the dead bodies that were there, listen, I'm not going to get into it. Yeah, it's self-explanatory, but he did it. Every single thing you can think of to the female dead bodies in that morgue, he did it, and he documented it. I had to read about it. I don't want to speak about it. The youngest was 9 years old. The oldest was 100 years old. He worked the late...
Man, get the fuck out of here, Mike. Get the fuck out of here, Mike. Get the fuck out of here, Mike. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Some of this shit, you can't even put this shit in a movie. I think it was last week or some other video I was watching. You like, man, something about the movies. I feel like a movie, you can't even make this shit up. Man, oh my God, bro. That is already killing the fact that he is doing this shit to dead bodies. But the youngest he did this, I don't even want to speak on what he did. But the youngest was 9 years old and the oldest was 100. Like, let's go, man.
Late shift, when the mortuary staff left for the day, he would swipe in. His office was right across the hall from the mortuary. He went in, and hiding from the CCTV, he systematically... it's believed at least 100 bodies he went at. Some had been dead for a while, others had been just dead for a couple of hours before he went at him. He filmed it all. He was never once caught by staff, but he did, when he went into the morgue, he would bring his work equipment so that if somebody did come in, he was, just fixing the cooler, fixing the fucking lights, whatever. But there was 1 or 2 times when he nearly was caught. He would be going at the bodies, and a door would open, because one detective said he's seen this on film, because he filmed everything. He was watching one of the videos, David was there, somebody walked in, didn't see him, but David didn't even try and hide it, like what he was doing. Like, he was just so arrogant, I guess, and so... yeah. One hard drive alone contained 800,000 pictures and over 500 videos. Altogether, 23 terabytes of material was found in his home, in folders labeled Necrolord, Register, Deadly, Deadliest, 00, Best Yet. The most recent film video picture they found was dated to November 30th, 2020. 3 days before he was arrested. Can you imagine what the police had to do then? They had to go and tell the families what had happened. Honestly, I think maybe they would be better off not knowing. 24-year-old Azra Kemal died after she fell from a bridge in the area in 2020. When Azra's mother was told by the police what David Fuller had done to her daughter in the morgue, she grabbed a knife and she walked into the police station. Personally, I would not have stood in her way, but the police did. They locked her up for like 34 hours. And, who could blame her? Who could blame anyone for, yeah.
It was always in the evenings, David. It was always evening time.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, we know that...
I want to admit that I am admitting the offences, but I don't really want to go into detail.
Yeah. Okay.
We appreciate that.
And what offences are you admitting, David?
As you've just described to me.
Okay. In terms of the sexual penetration of corpses? Okay. Do you know why you started?
No.
Why did you record what was going on?
I don't know why. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. Every single thing you're saying to me is killing me off. Honestly, it really is. So
he admitted to the abuse, but not to the murders. So that's likely why the murders stopped. He just found he had access to dead bodies, so he didn't need to kill anybody. David Fuller, he changed his plea during the trial, and so he was found guilty of the murders of both Wendy Nell and Caroline Pierce on the basis of his DNA and the shoe print that was found at the crime scene, Wendy Nell's crime scene. The police literally found a picture of him wearing the same shoes that matched that shoe print. He also had been to the store where Wendy worked and to the restaurant where Caroline worked many times.
4 years to the day since her body was discovered dumped in a ditch. Today, Caroline Pierce's killer was jailed for life. David Fuller also killed and sexually abused Wendy Nell in the same year of 1987. Both families had all but given up hope of justice.
We've been hoping and hoping and hoping for years. And now it's just come. And it's not going to sink in for a little while.
I can't find any other adjectives to describe him, the contempt I have for him. because of the impact that it's had on those individuals and the families, but the number of people going to be impacted by it for the rest of their lives, with the memories of their loved ones, we're talking hundreds, if not thousands of people impacted by it.
He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. That in UK is called a whole life order. He was sentenced to a further 12 years for what he did in the morgue. And that ends this one. I don't really have much more to say. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. You guys are great. Fair play if you made it through the entirety of this one, but you know, heck, I had to research it, so you have to hear about it. But yeah, listen, the next old video will be up in a couple of days. If you'd like to watch some more of that chapter, please go for it. But if you feel like maybe you should watch something funnier, lighthearted after this one that was especially heavy, please go for that too. As always, please take care of each other and yourselves, especially after this one, because I love you. Mike out.
OMG. I don't even know where to begin, y'all. At the end of the video, I was still listening, but I'm just stuck on the fact of what he was doing at that morgue. This probably, and I know I probably said this shit 100 times now, but this probably is the craziest motherfucking person I ever heard of in my life. Like, the most sick and just mentally, like, how could somebody, like, this is what I'm saying, y'all, how could, I don't even think you can write a movie about this shit, man. To be able to write a movie about this shit, something got to be wrong with you. Like, his whole story, I'm talking about his whole story. And RIP to Caroline and Wendy. First and foremost, you know, RIP to them, man. I hate that happening to him. But and it's bad enough back then he was a murderer, but it's like he took the murdering shit to a whole nother level. Even though it wasn't murdering no more. And even though murdering and what he was doing is just as bad. But I'm just saying, man, you got to be a sick mother to be sitting up there doing that shit to the dead bodies. Like, man, damn, I got images in my head that I want to get up out now. I want that shit to get up out my head, man. I cannot believe this man. And then he recording it. What in the, then not only he recording it, he's saving the footage. Oh my God, bro. Like, I don't fucking know, y'all. This one here got me, like, my emotions, like, just on some, I cannot believe this shit. Like, I can't believe that how many billions of humans we got in the world, how many of billions we got. It's just hard to believe that even one on Earth would do some shit like this. Oh my goodness, man. I'm finna let y'all get up out of here, my brothers and sisters. This shit here is just what in the fucking hell, man. But before y'all get up out of here, just hit that like button for me, comment, subscribe, do all that. And I'm gonna see y'all real soon, my brothers and sisters. We gonna go and get up out this thing. This shit here was crazy. But before y'all go, remember this. Love, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah.